Well, hello, here's another new product today, and I finally got my hands on the RunCam 3S, which many people are sort of toting as, is this a replacement for the GoPro Session? Which I'll be pretty much doing the same thing, because these are the de facto standards on mini quads. This is actually only the original Session. Most people have gone for the Session 5, but as there's nothing wrong with it, I couldn't really justify doing it. Other members of this box family include this Fox Ear model, which is a little bit bigger. And the original RunCam 3, which ran into really big legal problems from GoPro, as I believe it was because the form factor was exactly the same, and that got GoPro upset. Even though they've discontinued the Session, they still seem to be quite liable to take legal action against anybody that copies their design. So this again is not the same size. If we get it open, there is a camera sitting in there, which you can just about see in this. And the first thing I noticed immediately about this, it's definitely bigger. You can feel it, and I will show you a close-up of what all these look like. I mean, it's not massive, but it's, you know, it's slightly bigger, it's slightly squarer, and it's slightly smoother. I was a little bit worried about the smoother thing because if you're familiar with the Session, it's kind of textured. There's a sort of rubberized texture thing. This is very smooth. And I was worried about that because when you're holding in with basically just a strap over it, is this going to hold in okay? Elsewhere in the box, if we get rid of this bit, we've got the instructions and we've got this little box. And in this little box is a USB cable. I don't know if it's just charge or charging data, because one of the things you can do is connect this in and have the camera appear as basically mass USB storage. So you don't have to get the SD card out all the time. You've also got a live out cable, which is something all RunCams tend to do. But no one tends to use them as a sort of a live FPV camera. And then you've got two straps, presumably for holding it down. Now you will notice there's not any sort of screen on top like the GoPro's got there. So everything needs to be managed via the app. Basically, RunCam produces an app which connects to lots of their cameras. You've got a little button here that activates Wi-Fi, and you basically connect to the network, go into the app, and you can change the settings in that. So the obvious things you have got here is the USB connector here, micro USB again, and what's very different here is you've got a battery slot. If we open this up, this just comes off. I'd actually prefer it on a hinge, I have to admit. And then this little 850, I think it's, yeah, an 850 milliamp hour battery comes out there, and you've got a space to replace it if you need to. So if you're out flying a lot of packs and you've used this up, you can get a spare and just replace it in there. Now I'll probably have to show a close-up of this again, but once you've removed the battery, you've got access to the SD card slot right down here in this little bit, which is probably a reason why you'd actually want to connect to via USB, because it's a little bit fiddly to get in there. I've got this little 32 gig one here, so let's pop it in, and I'm using my old man look over the top of my glasses. It's a nice sprung, put it in there properly at least, and we're pretty much ready to go. I mean, the other things are pretty easy. You hold the button down, it beeps to say it's turned on. It's got this little power indicator here with these 3 LEDs, which is quite nice. Press the button and you see the recording indicator as it starts recording. It's set to default for 1080p 60 and it's WDR on, so we are pretty much ready to fly and see how it goes. I'll be taking this one out as well to act as a comparison. I'm not going to fly them together sort of stacked. I'm just going to do one after the other just to see if there's some interesting differences we can see between the two. Of course, this does come up cheaper at about $99, and this, well, you can't really get them anymore. The Session 5's dropped in price, sold lots, and now they're in high regard. The price has jumped back up again. Anyway, let's go fly it and see how it feels. Well, hi everyone, and welcome to the field where, despite it being September, we've got a glorious day again. Out here with the RunCam 3S, ready to test it. I say ready to test it. First thing I'm going to do is check the GoPro Session with this quad and see how it is. I'm using the Mojo here because you'll notice the mounting is just a piece of foam with the strap around it. So this gives a very sort of equal footing to each camera, so we can swap it over, we can have a reasonable mount on both, so a proper comparison. Anyway, just going to have a fly around really and see how it feels. Try and do the same thing on both cameras so we can kind of do a side by side, but not, you know, exactly. Just pretty much a feel for it really. Anyway, let's get on with the flying. Okay, so up we go for our sort of reference material, if you like, on the GoPro Session. Now, I should mention a couple of things here. Firstly, it's a pretty sunny day, and this is the sort of time where an ND filter might help, because you can see there's a little bit of yellow there, and it's kind of, some of it's because of the sun, some of it's because one too many crashes on those props, which I've just bent back again. Anyway, so what I'm trying to do on the GoPro as its sort of reference is just take it for a fly. There's some nice shadow here, so we can kind of go in and out of the light. And what I also wanted to do was go up high, stick the lens right into the sun and see what would happen. And when it's this sunny, it's not actually too bad when you stick stuff straight in the sun, because everything else is really lit as well. So yeah, it all looks pretty good. I'm quite a fan of how the GoPro displays things, and even on the original Session it's quite good. So let's flick over now and see how the RunCam 3S handles things. And there we go. And I left a bit of sound there because I thought it would be interesting to look at how different the mic is. Now, straight away I picked up a couple of things. When I looked at the sky, I was like, that sky's a little bit too blue, and some of the details look like they're standing out a little bit too much. So because we've just come straight from the GoPro footage, it's quite easy to pick out that the colours look a little bit oversaturated and the whole picture looks a little bit over sharpened. I also noticed that the field of view looks a little bit different. You can just, if you look for it, see the sort of distortion on the sides is a little bit different if you go to the extreme sides of the picture. And you can also pick up the props from this camera, where on the GoPro Session they weren't showing up at all, which I found was quite weird. I have to say, apart from that, I think people have been perhaps a little bit harsh on it. It actually looks pretty good to me. So let's put them side by side. Okay, so this is a little bit weird because we're using left from one camera, that's the RunCam 3S, and right from the GoPro, and we're not even trying to sync up anything remotely similar. We're just sort of flying along and stuff. And you know, I think that people have been a little bit harsh to criticise when you look at what you're getting. We're looking at a $99 camera which takes reasonably good 1080p 60. I mean, yes, that sky is definitely oversaturated. However, that's one of the settings in the app you can change and pull that back a bit. Because I notice it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. The greens look a little bit over green in the GoPro, where they look a little bit more natural in the RunCam, which is weird. I mean, the sharpness thing is something you can't take away, but if it wasn't for the straight comparison and that, you know, quite obviously over blue sky, let's take away the GoPro for now, I think people wouldn't be sort of judging too harshly. I mean, I think it's fair to say that a GoPro is a better camera and preferable certainly for mini quads, not just because at least, you know, the size is right and you can mount them easier. However, a $99 camera that can do this and you can just fit to any little quad, I think's actually quite a good deal. So I'm going to attempt to fly this some more and see what else I can get out of it. Mess around with those settings a bit more, see if RunCam release any further updates, and see what we can get from it. Because for me, I think this is working pretty well. It certainly looks a lot better than the Foxeer box. And you can't buy GoPro Sessions anymore, so you know, the door is open for somebody to come up with something better. But for now, I think this is a pretty good camera. So there you go. I actually thought it was pretty good for what it was, and I'm basing that on the fact that how much it is, the results you get, and what else you can get for that price, which is almost nothing at the moment. I wanted to say as well, this strap, I was worried about this falling out. This is actually a really good couple of straps they've given. It's nice and thin, and it's got the rubber backing, so as soon as that's locked in, it's really tight. Where RunCam, I think, have dropped the ball, I mean, they've given great straps, but they should have given some sort of mount. I mean, they knew exactly what this was going on. They're an FPV company. They knew this is for mini quads. There's no TPU mount, and of course it's bigger than the GoPro, so it won't fit. It's fine if you've got something like this where you've just got a little platform and you tie it round, but a lot of other quads, you know, you have to have a proper mounting for them. And sure, people can be printing them, but we need more mounts for this one. So come on, RunCam, get with the program there. Anyway, this came from Banggood, so thanks very much for supplying for review. And if you want to take a look at it, of course, links are down below. I will see you in the next one. I hope that's helpful. Bye for now. Well, you've made it to the end of the video, so thanks once again for watching. If you like what you saw, then please consider subscribing, and if you really like what you saw, then be sure to check out the link to my blog for a variety of ways in which you can help support this channel.